I'm Matt McClure.
And I'm Francesca Maxime, and this is Currents.
Literacy isn't just about books. We'll show you what some local educators discovered.
The idea is to teach kids the skills they need to navigate their lives, both socially, academically, and personally.
Forget about lunch period. Students in Rome are spending an hour with God.
Going to adoration is actually something I do to just keep my life in order.
And up all night, but it's not a party. A one-of-a-kind devotion celebrates a milestone.
On this first Friday of the month, I can make a sacrifice, and instead of spending it at a bar or a restaurant or another social gathering, I could be spending it in church.
Well, good evening. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. With the economy and in particular the job market looking very murky these days, many adults, hundreds of thousands in fact, are going back to school.
And some local teachers from the Brooklyn Diocese were among the many educators who became students this past weekend. It wasn't class time, though. It was the 5th annual celebration of teaching and learning.
In fact, it was. It was sponsored by local PBS station Channel 13. It was a series of speakers and discussions that showed teachers new ways of reaching students that go beyond textbooks.
It all took place at the Hilton, New York in Midtown Manhattan, and we were there.
We're here for professional development of all educators within the Catholic schools of Brooklyn and Queens. Today specifically, many of our teachers attended a workshop given by Dr. Mark Brackett from Yale University, who is well known to the Catholic schools of our diocese, on emotional literacy.
It's a nationwide thing. We're part of a larger group of people doing work in what we call social and emotional learning. And the idea is to teach kids the skills they need to navigate their lives, both socially, academically, and personally.
We're one of the schools that are in that project. This now is our 3rd year with the project, and it's had tremendous impact in our school.
Well, I was interested in it because I've been trying to get into the program, and I have to wait for the next phase, which I just found out from Dr. Bracken that is going to become in June. And so I was interested in it because we do have children that we would like to use the program with.
We've got a lot of research now to supporting that by bringing emotional literacy to a classroom, you can make that classroom feel safer, you can make it make children feel more valued in the classroom, and create a climate where children feel like they want to learn and be in school.
And then they can implement it into their learning throughout the day so that everybody is aware of how they're feeling, so that we can work toward how do we change the feelings toward a more positive behavior throughout the day. That's the way I want to see it implemented in the school.
We started off working in the Catholic schools through a large grant that I received from the William T. Grant Foundation to do an experiment by randomly assigning about half the schools in a diocese to receive our training and the other half to be waitlist control group. And we did a 2-year longitudinal study. We're in the middle of our 2nd year of that study, but our 1st year impact findings are showing that we're creating schools where children feel safer, where they feel more connected to their teachers.
So it's our hope that we would have emotional literacy in all of our schools. You know, students need to learn how to express themselves. They need to learn how to regulate their feelings. And it is important for student achievement. And again, I think the culture and the climate of our Catholic schools supports it.
What we're going to be doing is a large rollout so that 115 of the schools in the Brooklyn Queens Diocese will receive the training over the next 2 years.
We've done a lot of work with him, including about 35 schools. I've implemented an emotional literacy curriculum on a variety of grade levels in steps towards unrolling that curriculum throughout the diocese in every Catholic elementary school.
Well, it just goes to show it's never too late to learn something new and to keep current.
Of course, we like to do that around here.
Yes, we do.
Well, stay tuned. You'll stay current with more currents coming up straight ahead. When we return, we'll have the day's headlines, including a meeting between the governor and the archbishop. Welcome back to Currents. I'm Matt McClure.
And I'm Francesca Maxime. Coming up later, it's not the writing on the wall, but a former vice presidential candidate is still seeing the writing on the hand. We'll explain.
But first, let's check the day's headlines. Just hours after discussing the budget with citizens in Brooklyn, embattled New York Governor David Paterson met with Archbishop Timothy Dolan in Albany yesterday. Reports say the two spent just over an hour behind closed doors talking about the scandals involving Paterson's administration. Dolan said the governor told him he feels frustrated about all of the distractions he's facing right now, especially since the state is in a fiscal crisis. Now, Dolan and Brooklyn's Bishop DiMarzio are among Catholic leaders in Albany today for the New York State Catholic Conference Public Policy Day. Well, Vatican spokesman says sexual abuse of children is deplorable, but he says the church is responding to new abuse claims quickly and decisively. Father Federico Lombardi says church leaders in Germany, Austria, and the Netherlands are helping the victims and their families after allegations of abuse in those countries, which mainly occurred at Catholic schools. Meantime, Pope Benedict will meet with the head of Germany's Catholic Bishops' Conference on Friday to talk about allegations of abuse there in the Pope's homeland. Well, the Archbishop of Denver is weighing in on a controversial decision to not allow the child of a lesbian couple to re-enroll in a Catholic school. Archbishop Charles Chaput said in his weekly newspaper column that, quote, if parents don't respect the beliefs of the church, or live in a manner that openly rejects those beliefs, then partnering with those parents becomes very difficult, if not impossible, end quote. Gay and lesbian rights groups protested the decision outside the school's affiliate church on Sunday.
9 of the 10 U.S. missionaries who had been held on kidnapping charges in Haiti have now been released. The 9th missionary, Teresa Coulter, flew back to the U.S. last night. Now only the Baptist group's leader, Laura Silsby, remains in a Haiti jail. Silsby's lawyer says she should be released soon. Nigerian security is on high alert after mass burials were held for the hundreds of Christians slaughtered there. The violence in 3 villages near the city of Jos appeared to be a reprisal following rioting in January when most of the victims were Muslims. Military troops are now on patrol and many people in the country are on edge, fearing revenge attacks. CNN's Christian Purefoy has more.
The hysteria of grief. Mary Chuan says many of her family members were killed when the attackers came in the dark of early Sunday morning. She cried for help, but no one came. The Christian community of Dogo Nahawa in central Nigeria is burying its dead after what everyone here says was an attack by Muslim herdsmen on this Christian community. An estimated 150 people, many women and children, were killed in last Sunday's raid. But some villagers say this conflict is not about faith.
What these people want is the land, not a question of religion.
But this tit-for-tat violence is fueling sectarian tensions. In January, more than 300 Muslims were killed by Christians in a neighboring town.
This is a very somber moment for the local community, but also a very dangerous moment for Nigeria. The security forces across the country have been put on high alert because often in this region, one attack begets another.
And quickly, the deadly cycle of retribution is reignited as local families here try to kill a local Muslim journalist reporting the burial.
This is the situation that the Nigerian authorities are worried about spiraling completely out of control. The situation here is extremely tense.
The police eventually drag him to safety. It's impossible to know how many of Mary's relatives were killed, but there is no mistaking the depth of her grief or her hatred for their attackers.
How does she feel? How does she feel now?
I am not happy, she says. I wish even I had died myself. Whatever the reasons for the attack, its consequences mean that Mary's family are unlikely to be the last victims in the region's troubles.
And that is CNN's Christian Purefoy. And finally, do you pray at bedtime? A new study shows the answer to that question varies widely among different ethnic groups. The National Sleep Foundation Sleep in America poll finds that African Americans are most likely to say their bedtime prayers, with 71% saying they pray every night or almost every night. Asians are the least likely group to pray, while nearly half of Hispanics and a third of whites say their prayers on a regular basis.
It's a good thing to say your prayers before you go to sleep at night. We'll stay tuned. There's much more Currents coming up. Just ahead, Friday night is all right for praying, and one community has been doing it for 40 years.
It's very encouraging to see 40 years. We always have a crowd. There's always 100 people or more here.
Welcome back. Well, it's not even spring yet, although it does kind of feel like it today.
It does.
It's really nice out there. I saw the little bulbs starting to push up their greens from the ground this morning. But for tens of thousands of young people, this week is the start of spring break, the annual vacation ritual that has become a part of every college student's dreams and perhaps every parent's nightmares. I don't know. Were you good on spring break?
I was good. I was very good on spring. I was a good kid.
Uh-huh.
You know, I was just a good kid. You could say I was a bit dorky as a child.
Yeah, well,
as a teenager.
Well, see, you were in Georgia. I was in Florida and right on the beach where I lived the last few years. And let's just say, yeah, the spring breakers over there, a little crazy.
A little bit of a different story for them.
I would say.
And it could be a little bit different if you're in Rome as well. At one university, students can take a break not just during spring, but actually during every season and every day, focusing on one of the oldest devotions in the church. And we hear that story now from Rome Reports.
9 years ago, students from the Pontifical University of St. Thomas Aquinas asked the rector for a chapel where they could pray between their classes and study time. Now, Eucharistic adoration has turned into a big part of this university's culture.
The students do all of the promotion. They also organize everything that happens. So we don't have to do anything. They do it all. And it was their idea.
The students designed a weekly calendar, so there's always someone praying before the Eucharist between 8 in the morning and 6:30 in the evening. Each student dedicates at least 1 hour to Eucharistic adoration. Other students and professors take over during breaks and lunchtime.
Going to adoration is actually something I do to just keep my life in order. It just stops my life from falling apart from all of the stress. So I think it's important for me to have that adoration chapel on campus.
It's something very special because my church doesn't offer this every day. To have an opportunity like this, it's an experience to thank God daily. This has the power to fulfill and change your day-to-day outlook.
The university, made up of 1,000 students from 90 different countries, wants to teach students about faith and reason through subjects such as theology, philosophy, and social science. In fact, students say study and prayer is part of their formation.
We incorporate both study and prayer. What we find is that we are unified, and God wants us to be unified. He didn't make us so that we could ignore our intellects and just believe, or so that we could just know things rationally and not take the time to believe in Him. He wants us to be complete people.
I think having both faith in practice at the Eucharist and knowledge in practice in study really the same. It's just the one way of worshiping God in all these different avenues.
Through this initiative, the Angelicum, whose alumni includes Karol Wojtyła, has created a new place for students and professors to meet, the chapel.
Well, closer to home, Eucharistic adoration has caught on in a big way at one church in Manhattan, and you really have to see it to believe it.
Every first Friday, hundreds of people turn out for an overnight prayer vigil at Our Lady of Peace on the Upper East Side. It goes from 9:30 at night to 5:30 the next morning. And this past first Friday marked the 40th anniversary of this remarkable tradition.
We could be doing so many other things on a Friday night. We could be going to a restaurant or a bar or some other social activity, you know. We could be going at this activity all throughout the night. But you know what? On this first Friday of the month, I can make a sacrifice. And instead of spending at a bar or a restaurant or another social gathering, I could be spending it in church and praying, maybe for an hour, maybe for 2 hours.
This day and age, who wants wants to come and stay all night for an all-night vigil, and especially on a Friday night, who wants to do that? And it's very encouraging to see 40 years. We always have a crowd. There's always 100 people or more here. Sort of take one night a month to come and to spend the entire night with him, especially at the beginning of the month. You start a new month and you sort of, get into all the blessings, and you want to thank God and you want to talk to him. And, it's beautiful and quiet here, especially in the middle of the night. It's very peaceful.
Whenever we celebrate a Mass in honor of the Sacred Heart of Jesus, his Sacred Heart is symbolic of the love he has for each and every one of the members of that flock. We have the responsibility and the opportunity to share in the shepherding role of Jesus for and among his people. Let each one of us pray about that, think about that, and ask ourselves, what can we do in the future to improve the way we shepherd God's people, to improve the way we share the love that he has given to us through his Sacred Heart and the strength he gives to us through himself present in the Eucharist.
Gives us a great opportunity to come and pray the whole night. This is something that's a lot more spiritual. And the more you come, the more you are drawn to come, the greater you grow spiritually. And I think that that's what everyone has experienced here. It's really transformational. And it just gets the strength, you get stronger to come all the time, despite how tired you are, despite your very busy schedule, despite all your obligations. It's amazing how you can make something happen when you really want it to be. It becomes a priority in your life.
It's kind of remarkable. I mean, a Friday night in New York City and you get this many people to come out.
Yeah.
It's an amazing turnout.
They're not at a bar, they're not at a club, they're at church.
Right. It's amazing.
It's so nice that they can do that. I mean, it's once a month, but they can literally stay there overnight. Or say you get off the late shift and you want to make it a part of your ritual once a month, you can go there at midnight or at 2 in the morning.
It's for everybody, It's for those people who do, like you say, work the night hours. It can be a good thing. And I mean, they hold it all night. You don't necessarily have to stay all night if you don't want to, but you can, which is kind of a cool thing to give people that option. And really a group of devoted people.
I was going to say 40 years, 4 decades of doing this. I mean, obviously not all of the people that are there today were there at the beginning, but I'm sure there are a couple. And that whole idea of just having the devotion there for the adoration is really quite remarkable.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
especially in New York.
Yeah.
Who would have thunk it?
That's it. Well, stay with us. Just ahead, what does Sarah Palin have in common with God? The answer when we come back.
And finally tonight, we have a bit of a different take on the controversy surrounding Sarah Palin and the notes that she scribbled on her hand. You remember that a few weeks back?
I do, as a matter of fact. And so does CNN's Jeannie Mose. She's taken the matter in hand, so to speak. And as she reports, the former Alaska governor now says her inspiration came from above.
We swear to God, God has now gotten into the Sarah Palin writing on her hand brouhaha.
Hey, if it was good enough for God scribbling on the palm of his hands, it's good enough for me.
Just when we thought we'd washed our hands of this controversy, it's back.
Remember how she was ceaselessly mocked by others writing on their hands? Paper isn't expensive, and even writing on their feet. Or did you forget that too? Even the White House press secretary evoked groans for mocking Palin.
I wrote eggs, milk, and bread.
And he was mocked in turn, having all his ums edited together. And now some are saying even God writes on his hands. It's in the Bible.
Then somebody sent me the other day, Isaiah 49:16.
Yet will I not forget thee. Behold, I have engraved thee on the palms of my hands.
I'm like, okay, I'm in good company.
Though some still joked about exactly what God had written on his palm. It said, "Memo to self, no more Sarah Palins." Of course, Palin herself has joined in the fun.
We're not using cue cards tonight, Jay.
What are we using? Hey, Jay, we're going old school tonight.
Palin's palm reading even made it into a campaign commercial.
My name is Don Janes, and I approve this message.
Janes is a Tea Party independent running for Congress from Tennessee who was inspired by Palin to come up with words for what's missing in Washington.
We kind of threw it together in a day. It was kind of done on the cheap. It cost me less than $20 to do the video.
Bill Maher went from ridiculing that ad to his own hand-me-downs.
Heidi Montag has... Oh, Tiger Woods has, Heidi... Oh, Amy Whitehouse, what does she have written on?
And now the right is highlighting a Democrat, Dianne Feinstein, who had notes on her hand during a 1990 debate.
She was violating the debate rules.
But at least now, Sarah Palin isn't looking down.
We've got to start reining in the spending.
She's looking up. Jeannie Moe, CNN, New York.
Well, say what you will about Jeannie Moe's, you really have to hand it to her.
Oh, very good.
Thank you. This was just like the pun day. Actually, yeah. I made a note about that here. Hand puns.
Oh, very
I wrote
nice.
there on my hand, so I would remember to make that last.
Yeah,
remark.
I just wish you a little hello. That's all. I just wanted to give Matt a little hi, Matt.
I love it.
Hi, Matt. I'm out.
Your little mustache.
I don't think she did that, though.
No, there was none of that.
People.
But there's been, of course, a lot of talk about this. And it's really been like this YouTube sensation, as you saw there, people making videos either mocking it or mocking other people who were mocking it and all that. So.
I like the bread, butter, milk one or whatever.
Yeah.
It's funny. I mean, look, at the end of the day, really, that's one of those things that kids do sometimes when they're cheating in class. That's really the whole sort of way it came about, I think. And, you know, in the piece that they said there was someone else that was, you know, a politician that had done that before too, but at the end of the day, use a cue card if you really need some notes, right? Otherwise,
Right.
just memorize it. Just try to just get it upstairs.
That's how they do it on Saturday Night Live, you know. If you can't remember the lines, just use the cue card.
It's too bad they can't use invisible ink.
There you go. You have them for like 10 minutes or so, and then it disappears and nobody knows.
That would solve the problem.
I needed my notes today. Oh, well.
Well, that's it for tonight's edition of Currents. Coming up tomorrow, Bishop DiMarzio leads a special prayer service for immigrants, and we will take you there. Meantime, remember, we're always online. You can remember if you write it on your hand.
Right.
At Currents, that's what you get it right here, currentsny.net. Write it down.
Write this down, too. You can also follow us on Twitter, and you can become our fan on Facebook as well. So until next time, thank you so much for watching. I'm Matt McClure.
And I'm Francesca Maxime. Thanks so much for joining us, and have a great night.